Hey there, my love. Come in for a second, take a breath, and just let yourself settle here with me. Because the energy around this reading, it's actually really interesting. I was looking at these cards before I started recording, and I kept getting this feeling that something is about to move. Something that has felt stuck, delayed, maybe even completely silent. And if you've been waiting on an answer, a message, a decision, a person, a job, an opportunity, anything where you've been sitting there thinking, okay, but when? This reading may be for you. Now, obviously, take what resonates. You don't have to force anything. If it doesn't feel like your story, just let it go. But if you're sitting there right now thinking, yep, that's exactly what I've been dealing with, then stay with me, because I want to look a little deeper into this. Okay. The first thing I'm noticing here is that this doesn't feel like a permanent block. That's important, because there's a difference between something being over and something simply taking longer than you expected. And I feel like you've been interpreting the delay as a no. Maybe you've been thinking, they're not calling me. They're not choosing me. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I should just give up. And honestly, I don't think that's the message here. I think you've been in a waiting period, and I know waiting can mess with your head, especially when you've already done your part. You sent the message, you applied, you had the conversation, you made the decision, you put yourself out there, and then nothing. Silence. So eventually you start questioning yourself. You start going back through everything. What did I say? Did I do something wrong? Should I have handled that differently? And that's where I feel you've been stuck. Not necessarily in the situation itself, but in your thoughts about the situation. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't think you realize how tired you've actually become. Because you've probably been functioning normally, going to work, taking care of things, talking to people, doing what you need to do. But inside, there's been this little voice constantly asking, is it ever going to happen? And that gets exhausting. It really does. Especially when you don't have an answer. But look at this energy. This is movement. This is someone finally making a decision, and I don't want you to immediately assume this has to be about one specific person. For some of you, yes, it absolutely could be. For others, this could be work, money, a home, a move, an approval, a relationship, something you've been waiting to hear back about. The details may be different, but the feeling is very similar. You've been waiting for somebody else, or something outside of you, to give you the green light. And I think that's about to change. Actually, wait, there's something else here. Because I don't think the biggest change is just the answer you're waiting for. I think it's what happens inside of you when you finally get it. That's the part I really want you to hear. Because for a long time, you may have believed that once you got this answer, you would finally feel worthy. Finally feel safe. Finally feel like, okay, now I know I made the right choice. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to look at the situation and realize you were already okay. You survived the waiting. You survived the uncertainty. You survived all those nights when you had no idea what was going to happen. And suddenly, the answer isn't giving you your power. It's just confirming something you already knew deep down. And honestly, I like that. I really like that energy. Because it's much stronger than chasing. It's much stronger than begging somebody to choose you. It's the energy of, okay, if it's meant for me, it'll meet me where I am. And if it doesn't, I'll still be okay. That is a completely different version of you, and I feel like you've been becoming that person quietly. Maybe you haven't even noticed it. Maybe other people haven't noticed it. But you have changed. And here's where I want you to be careful. When you've waited for something for a long time, sometimes getting it can actually make you nervous. You think, okay, great, but what if something goes wrong now? What if I lose it? What if I mess this up? What if they change their mind? and suddenly you're worrying about losing something you haven't even received yet. Please don't do that to yourself. Stay in the moment. If the answer comes, let it come. If the door opens, walk through it. You don't need to apologize for being there. You don't need to make yourself smaller, and you definitely don't need to over-explain why you deserve it. You don't have to convince anyone. I'm also getting something about your confidence. I think there was a period where someone, or maybe a situation, made you question yourself. Maybe they weren't intentionally trying to do that. But that's what happened. You started looking at yourself through their reaction. If they didn't respond, you thought you weren't important. If they hesitated, you thought you weren't enough. If they walked away, you wondered what was wrong with you. And that's not yours to carry anymore. Their hesitation belongs to them. Their confusion belongs to them. Their timing belongs to them. It doesn't automatically become a reflection of your worth. And I feel like that's one of the biggest lessons coming through this reading. Stop measuring your value by how quickly someone recognizes it. Some people need time. Some situations need time. And sometimes, the delay has nothing to do with whether you're worthy. It's just timing. That's it. Now, for some of you, I do feel like communication is coming. I'm not saying everybody is going to wake up tomorrow with a phone call. So don't sit there staring at your phone all night. Please don't do that. But I do feel movement around communication. A message, an email, a conversation, a decision. Something that was unclear, becoming much clearer. And when it happens, I think you're going to be surprised by how calm you are. You may have imagined this moment 100 times. You thought you'd cry. You thought you'd be overwhelmed. You thought you'd finally feel this huge rush of relief. But I actually think you're going to sit there for a second and go, huh? Okay. Wow. And then you'll breathe. Because something in you will know this was supposed to happen. And there's another little message coming through. Don't go backwards emotionally. If you've already learned how to protect your peace, keep doing that. If you've learned how to say no, keep saying no. If you've stopped chasing, don't start chasing again just because the situation suddenly changes. Let people meet you halfway. Let them show you. You don't have to do all the work anymore. And I really want you to hear this next part, because I think somebody watching this has been blaming themselves for the delay. You've been thinking, maybe I wasn't positive enough. Maybe I didn't believe hard enough. Maybe I somehow blocked this. No, please don't put that on yourself. You are a human being. You're allowed to have bad days. You're allowed to get tired. You're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to wonder if things are ever going to work out. That doesn't mean you've ruined anything. It just means you're human. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to control the exact moment something arrives. You can want it. You can hope for it. You can pray for it. But then, you let life meet you halfway. That's the energy I'm getting here. Less chasing, more receiving. And one more thing. Pay attention to how you feel tomorrow, or whenever this situation begins to move. Not just what happens. Notice your body. Notice your thoughts. Notice if you suddenly feel lighter. Maybe you wake up and you're strangely calm. Maybe you hear something that reminds you of this situation. Maybe you see a number you've been noticing lately. Maybe somebody says something completely random, and somehow it hits differently. Don't obsess over signs. You don't need to hunt for them. Just notice. Sometimes the biggest sign isn't something outside of you. Sometimes it's simply realizing that you're no longer afraid. And that's really what I feel this reading is about. Not just getting the answer, but becoming the person who doesn't fall apart while waiting for one. You've been through uncertainty. You've had moments where you didn't know what was coming next. And somehow you're still here, still soft, still hopeful, still trying. That's not weakness. That's strength. So if you've been waiting for a yes, I want you to take a breath. Don't force it. Don't chase it. Don't panic. Let the situation unfold. Because the energy here feels like something that has been quiet is finally beginning to move. And when that movement comes, I want you to remember who you were before you got the answer. Remember how much you carried. Remember how many times you kept going when you had no proof that things would work out. The answer doesn't create your worth. It only meets you there. So, if this reading found you at exactly the right time, you can leave a little "I'm ready" in the comments. Not because you have to prove anything to the universe, but because sometimes it's nice to simply say it out loud. I'm ready, ready for clarity, ready for movement, ready to stop living in the waiting room, and ready to let something better meet you. All right, my love, I'm going to leave it there for now. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and whatever happens next, don't forget this. You don't have to chase what is truly meant to meet you. Sometimes, you just have to stand still long enough to let it find you. I'll see you in the next reading.